Whoa, you made it back! Welcome back to another episode of The Dribble, the show where we take a closer look into the Boston Celtics, the rest of the NBA, and whatever else might come up. My name is Luke Irwin, and I am your host. Today we have a really fun episode. Up first is the first ever player spotlight on The Dribble, friends on and off the court, the Celtics show depth, recapping a busy week for the Celtics, and much, much more. And then, when you hear this noise, that means it's time to stop talking about the Celtics. Enough of the Celtics already, okay? It's time to move on to the rest of the NBA. Lots to talk about there. The in-season tournament gets slippery. The Hopes Hotel with more turnover. We lose more and more money on Major Wager. Plus, as always, I will list out games to look forward to across the NBA in the upcoming week, along with the Celtics' upcoming schedule for the week. So yeah, so much to get into. And I suggest we do. Because this is The Dribble. All right, let's go ahead and get started with this episode of The Dribble. To start out this episode, I want to do the first ever player spotlight. I'd like to shine a spotlight on a Celtics player that I think has really gotten the Celtics to the point that they're at, which of course is complete dominance of the NBA. The player that I would like to shine a spotlight on is Sam Hauser. Sam Hauser, congratulations for the first ever Dribble podcast spotlight. Huge honor. Huge honor. So you should really be thanking me for giving you this spotlight. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a shot chart for his entire season this season. It's kind of hilarious, but if you know Sam Hauser, it is actually exactly what you would expect. Let's go ahead and bring that shot chart up. For those of you who are just listening and not watching, it is basically all three-point shots and then a couple shots in the paint. Sam Hauser has been absolutely lethal. He has the green light from Joe to shoot from three-point range, and he is taking that green light and he is running with it, and I love it. Sam Hauser this season has shot 73 threes in 12 games, which means that he's shooting about 6 threes per game, which is a sweet spot. He is making them at a 45.2% clip. He is shooting the three at a 45.2% make rate while shooting 6 threes. That's about making 3 threes per game. And then in the entire season, outside of the three-point line and a couple misses from mid-range, he has 5 for 5 at the rim. So he's either shooting threes super effectively or he's at the rim, directly under the rim, and he's going 5 for 5, 100% rate there. His effective field goal shooting, I also would like to give a shout out to, is 68%, which obviously for a three-point shooter, it's weighted because the effective field goal shooting, for those who don't know, is a weighted field goal percentage based on how many threes you take, because threes are technically worth more. So it's a 0.5% increase for your three-point percentage. So yeah, 68% effective field goal percentage is amazing. That's so high for the NBA. And all in all, he's averaging 10 points per game off the bench. So, right, he shoots well. Cool, Luke. What's the big deal, right? A lot of people shoot at a high rate. It's early in the season. It's only been 12 games. But the beauty of Sam Hauser and what he gives to this team is beyond his shooting. What he gives is pressure on the defense, right? He's not a player that other teams can just kind of forget about. His shooting and shooting at such a high clip makes teams have to stick to him, which then opens up the floor for Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, White, Holiday, everybody else to get their shots and to get open shots. And that's huge. If one of your bench players shoots at a lower rate, yeah, he's a three-point shooter, but he's not someone that's a super threat, then the other team won't have to stick to him. And in late game situations, they will be able to double Tatum and double these people, but they can't. I want to show real quick before we move on a play from the 76ers game. It's the final shot where Tatum hits the shot, kisses to the crowd, and the game for the 76ers is over. So check this out. The ball works around, Derek White gets it, makes a great drive to the bucket late, which is what we need to see, kicks it out to Tatum. Now, stop it right here. As you can see, Jason Tatum is wide open for this three-point shot. Maxey is guarding Hauser in the corner. Normally, against a normal shooter, Maxey could rotate early over to Tatum knowing that he's going to be taking that shot. But look at Maxey. He has to stick to Hauser in the corner, leaving Tatum wide open on a bad shooting night, and Tatum nails the three. And that's what Hauser does. And it's really exciting to see that he's not just making shots, he's affecting the defense and how they play us, which then opens up the floor for our other players. So, congratulations, Sam Hauser. You get the first ever player spotlight. Keep it up. Love what you've been giving off the bench. Now, before I recap the games, I just want to point out real quick for the watchers, people who watch here, I've had a couple of people ask me what something behind me is. And so I just want to show it real quick. So this, yes, is a Larry Bird house. This is a Larry Bird house. This is a birdhouse for birds that is shaped like Larry Bird. This is Larry Bird. And this is the Larry Bird house. Shout out to my brother Max for getting me this. One of the coolest presents in the world. It's just Larry Bird as a birdhouse. Larry Bird house. So he sits behind me and makes sure that I'm doing everything right. Love you, Larry Bird house. All right, so now on to the games. Game number 1, the Celtics versus the Knicks. The Celtics 114, the Knicks 98. This was a really great game. It was a good bounce back game. One thing that I loved to see in this game was that there was a little two-man game going on, and I think it's starting to mature between Porzingis, and JB, Jaylen Brown. I love what they've been doing. They've been doing a little bit of a handoff game back and forth at the top of the key, which isn't much action. They don't really do much off of it, but it is good to see. Brown was asked before this game, what Porzingis brings to this team, and he said that Porzingis and him have become really good friends. They apparently live in the same apartment building, which is great because sometimes JB can be a little bit distant from the team, it seems like, and so it's really good to see somebody who has been said to have locker room problems in Kristaps Porzingis, where everywhere he went before, people had issues with him in the locker room, interpersonal issues. So I'm curious to see where that development goes. How do they develop the two-man game? Because seeing JB in a two-man game would be huge. He's a player who's always been a little bit more ISO heavy. Of course, Tatum's ISO heavy, but Brown is particularly ISO heavy. Brown really does not like to play a two-man game. So if we can see Kristaps Porzingis, Jaylen Brown create a friendship off the court and then have trust in each other on the court and have a little two-man game there, man, it'll just be next level. It really will, and that'll create a lot of confidence in the rest of the team. It'll create more ball movement, the ball will stick less, and it'll just make the game easier for everybody else on the floor. Looking at the stats for this game, it was an all-around really great game. We shot 50% from the floor. We did shoot 43 threes, which is about the sweet spot for this team. Any more, I think it becomes overkill. Any less, and it's why didn't we get as many open threes? We did shoot 44.2% from three, which again, really great clip. If you can shoot 43 threes and shoot them at that clip, we're pretty much not going to lose to anybody. But also, one of the things that really stood out in this game is we had 27 assists. That's a really high assist number to New York's 17 assists, which that means our defense was forcing New York into a ton of ISO situations, but we were really moving the ball around. And again, with that Porzy-Brown connection up top, with the Porzy with Tatum connection, with the pick and roll, Derek White driving and kicking. Derek White's been so aggressive in these games, and it's great to see him driving to the basket and kick out to the right man. A lot of hockey assists where he's kicking it out, and then one more out to the open man on the perimeter, shooting the three, one of those 43 threes. And then, like I said, hitting him at a 44% clip is really going to be good. So the assist rates are up. That means not a lot of off the dribble threes, off the dribble, step backs, whatever it might be. It's not all ISO game, which for this team, if we can keep the 3-point shooting high and we can keep the assist numbers high, that's the game. That's the entire game for us. And then on the Celtics side in this game, Jason Tatum, pure dominance, 35 points in this game. He had 7 assists as well. Those assist numbers have been slowly ticking up. This week, he had over 5 assists in every single game that he played in. Tatum also shot 57% in this game, nearly 60%, but there was a player on the Celtics that did shoot over 60%. His name is Kristaps Porzingis, a.k.a. Porzy, a.k.a. the Latvian Leviathan. This man is out here. He had 21 points. He was a plus 19 in this game, and he shot 64% from the floor. 21 points on only 11 shots. He made 7 of 11. Always open, 7-11, and he absolutely killed it. And then, of course, Jaylen Brown pitched in 22 on this game as well. Okay, so moving on to the next game against the 76ers, a little bit of a rematch from the Wednesday before where we lost. Celtics 117, Sixers 107. This game was it. This is the game that the Celtics fans have been wanting to see because it was the bench game. 2 of our top 4 players were out in this game. Okay, Jaylen Brown was out with an illness, and Kristaps Porzingis was out with a bruised knee. It wasn't anything serious, just a one game, just rest it up, let that heal. But those are 2 of our top 4 players, and they were both out. And the Celtics obviously have a bench issue. People have been speculating about our bench. What can they do? Can they actually come in and pitch in towards a win when we need them most? And the answer is, hold on. The answer is yes. The answer is a huge yes, because they came in, it was Hauser and Al Horford who stepped in for Brown and Porzingis. And this is a Sixers team that has been hot, on a roll. Tyrese Maxey just scored 50 in the game before. Embiid in full MVP form. They've been playing really well. And they got a good game out of Covington in this game. They got their supporting help. But we had our bench absolutely ready to go. And that's credit to Joe Mazzulla, because there's a lot of people on this bench that haven't really seen the daylight in the NBA very much. So for Joe to have them prepared is a huge, huge step. And then, yeah, the bench played really well, and high minutes too. Obviously, like I said, Hauser started. Cornette had 19 minutes. Pritchard had 23 minutes. Mikhailuk had 15 minutes. And Banton had 8. So overall, this Sixers game really was just something that put all of our Celtics fans' hearts at ease, knowing that our bench can step in when needed against a top East contender in a battle for first seed in the East and show up. And when asked actually about this after the game, how people can keep stepping in, Jason Tatum had a quote that I thought kind of stood out to me. He said, "It speaks to culture of our team and our organization. Next man up mentality. We don't make excuses. We just find ways to win. I think how tough we are as a team and how hard we play, we're going to give ourselves a chance to win every night, regardless of who's in and who's out." In the preseason, Joe Mazzulla was interviewed, and he was asked about the team's culture, and he had a quote saying basically, the team didn't have a culture last year. We had a hard time finding what the team's culture was. So for the players to be using words like this, like culture, and actually feeling it this early on in the season, you know that that's something that Joe's cultivating and that the rest of the team is buying into, because a culture is only as good as its players that buy into it, right? You have to buy into the culture. That's why James Harden doesn't work anywhere. He is the system. He is that. So he's somebody who doesn't buy into any team's culture. So I thought that was an interesting quote from Tatum there. This was a 3-heavy game for us. We shot 53s, like I said, but we only had 40 points in the paint to their 54. I mean, 54 points in the paint is a lot. 40 is a good amount. It's more than we had in the Knicks game, but to their 54, we were unable to protect the paint. Most of our bench is not very big in size. Really, Luke Cornett's the only big bench guy that we have that can protect the middle. And so Joel Embiid and everybody kind of ate in the middle in the paint, and they were really able to just rack those up. I mean, 54 is kind of unacceptable in as far as like paint defense goes. Looking at the Celtics individual numbers, Tatum, second great game in a row, 29 points, 6 assists. Again, like I said, high assist numbers, 8 rebounds. But really who stood out to me was Derek White. He had 27 points on only 12 shots. Derek White took 12 shots and had 27 points. He was 7 for 12, which is 58%. That's nearly 60% shooting, and had 27 points. He also had 5 assists, means he was really moving the ball around. Obviously, the key assist was driving late in the fourth quarter, kicking it out to Tatum. Tatum hits the 3. Game over. Kisses to the crowd. It was over at that point. But yeah, he played super aggressive. He also had 10 free throw attempts. He went 9 for 10 from the stripe in this game, which means he was aggressive. He was attacking the paint. And like I said, all around, this was a really great and encouraging game. Moving on to the Raptors game. So we played the Raptors in the in-season tournament game 2. This was a bad game. The Celtics did not play well at all. If you look at the shot chart, we shot way too many threes. We played bad defense. We let them get into the paint. They were more aggressive than us. They wanted it more, and we seemed a little bit lackadaisical. All that being said, Celtics 108, Raptors 105. We still won. The Boston Celtics are 2-0 in the in-season tournament games, but our starters all scored in double figures. We had 17 points from Tatum. Porzingis poured in 14 points. Holiday also with 14 points. Derek White had 13 points, and Jaylen Brown had a team-high 23 points. We also had 2 others in double figures, actually, so we had 7 total people in double figures. We had Sam Hauser with 11, of course, coming through in the clutch. He shot 50% from 3, and then Al Horford also with 11 points. He was efficient from 3 as well, shooting 3 for 4. Really, it was the overall shot selection. We didn't shoot that bad. We shot 46 threes, but we only made 16 of them. That's a pretty low clip. But if you look at it, if you really look at all the threes that we took, they were highly contested off the dribble threes, unlike in Philadelphia's game and unlike in the Knicks game. We were really just like hucking them up. Dribble, 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 throwing it up, and the Raptors were really driving towards the paint. But yeah, overall with this Raptors game, last year's Celtics team would have lost this game because we only started executing well down the stretch. That last three that really sealed the game from Derek White, where it was kicked out to him in the corner, all alone, and he drilled it, which really was the game. That really was the difference in the game at the end, was all about execution, and it was all about moving the ball and not just taking contested three-point shots. Last year, that would have been Marcus Smart at the top of the key, just throwing up a three, or it would have been Tatum, who was 1 for 11 from three, just throwing up a three at the end of the game, or like forcing a shot. But instead, we've been more disciplined this year to move the ball around late in games, and it seems like we've been executing a lot more, which is a huge focus and has been a huge focus all offseason for this team. In-season tournament, we are now 2 games in. What do we think? I still hate the courts. And not only do I hate the courts because of the way they look, they give me a headache. But the reason I really hate the courts is because Jaylen Brown got hurt in this game. Jaylen Brown strained his groin in this game, late in the game, just trying to get open for an inbounds pass. And people were slipping all night. People were falling. Jaylen Brown fell multiple times. Tatum fell a couple times. There were travels being called because the pivot foot was slipping. Just go to the regular courts. You can still keep the structure, but take the courts away if it's not safe for the players, because that could really ruin a team's season. And then finally, the Celtics beat the Grizzlies 102-100 in a tight game, which should not have been a tight game, but it was a really exciting one. Came down to the last minute, and we made the right plays down the stretch. Again, this team has been executing down the stretch great, and I love to see it. Well, you know what that means. That means it is time to shut up about the Boston Celtics, and it's time to move on to the rest of the NBA. We have so much to talk about. In-season tournament, Hope's Hotel, major wager. It's all coming up. But first, a word from our sponsor. Oh, what's up, everybody? Today's episode of The Dribble is brought to you by James Harden, the system. Are you currently establishing a brand of unselfish, star-driven basketball? Are you looking to add one more star to the roster that'll make you lose all chemistry and any signs of good basketball play? Well, look no further. James Harden is himself an entire system. Now, this James Harden system comes fully equipped with features such as ball hog, over dribbling, errant passes, and even comes with tone-deaf post-game comments that will surely separate your locker room. Call today and we will throw in a James Harden fat suit for when he inevitably forces his way off of your team. Tear down your team's hopes by signing up for James Harden, the system. Call 1-800-STEP-BACK to get yours today. Now, back to the episode. Alrighty, thank you so much to our sponsor. Thank you again, James Harden, the system. Like they said, you can get that today, and it comes with a lot of really great features. So moving on, let's go ahead and move on to the in-season tournament. We are officially 2-3 games per team into the tournament. We have a kind of a view. A couple of teams have been eliminated, and I kind of want to check in on my picks that I made last week to see where we are, where am I standing, and was I right, was I wrong? Let's dive into it. Okay. East Group A. As you can see in this graphic, I had picked the Atlanta Hawks. That is the team with the spinny graphic on it. That was my pick. They are in 4th place in this group. So not doing so well, but they're not eliminated yet. So hold out hope. Indiana is actually the one who's holding the first place in East Group A. Indiana is there because Tyrese Halliburton has been on an absolute tear. And in Major Wager, Tim had Tyrese Maxey as the most improved player. Tyrese Halliburton is making a statement, making a push for that too. Tyrese Halliburton has 24.7 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game, and 12.5 assists per game this season. That leads the NBA. 12.5 leads the NBA right now. And he's also doing all of that while shooting 53% from the floor. So they are number 1 with a 2-0 record. And then obviously you have the Sixers with a 2-1 record, the Cleveland Cavaliers with a 1-1, my pick, the 1-1 Atlanta Hawks. And then unfortunately, the Detroit Pistons are out in this. They are 0-3 and they are eliminated. No chance for them to make it to the knockout round. All right, so let's go to East Group B. As you see, my East Group B pick was the Milwaukee Bucks. They have the spinny spin on them. That was my pick. They are currently in the lead with a 2-0 lead. but they are tied with the Heat. They just have a better point differential, the Bucks do, than the Heat. The Heat are also 2-0. The New York Knicks are 1-1. The Charlotte Hornets have won a game. Congratulations. They're 1-2. And then the Washington Wizards, who are out there with the bottle of wine, smoking a cigarette, are 0-3 in the tournament, and they are eliminated. No chance. Let's move on to Group C. Feeling pretty good about Group B there with my Milwaukee pick. East Group C. You can see the Boston Celtics, also 2-0. The spinny thing indicates that that is my pick. They are leading this group with a 2-0 record. Next to them is Brooklyn, who the Celtics already beat one time, with a 2-1 record. And then the Magic with a 1-1 record. And then the Toronto Raptors, who we beat this past Friday, 0-1. And finally, the Chicago Bulls with an abysmal 0-2. They are not eliminated yet. One more loss, and they would be, but they are still in the hunt. Okay, so that is the East. Those are the people who are in the lead, which is Indiana, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Boston Celtics lead those groups respectively. Now, let's move on to the West. West Group A. Another one of my picks leads the pack. The West Group A Lakers are 3-0, which leads everybody in this division. The Utah Jazz sneaky with a 2-1 record here. And the Phoenix Suns 1-1. Fourth place, you have the Portland Trailblazers at 1-2. And unfortunately, the Memphis Grizzlies, the jawless Grizzlies, the sad last place Grizzlies are 0-3, and they are also eliminated. So they have no chance of making it to the knockout round either. Lakers lead West Group A. Okay, now West Group B. We have the Denver Nuggets, who was my pick, is in second behind the New Orleans Pelicans, who are 2-1. Denver Nuggets are also 2-1, but they have a worse point differential. I did say that the Pelicans were going to be frisky in this tournament, and here they are being just that. And then you have the ever so surprising Houston Rockets with Ime Udoka, Sengun, and Jalen Green. They have been super surprising, but they're 1-1 in this tournament. And then fourth place, you have the Dallas Mavericks, 1-2. Come on, Luka, you're my MVP pick. And then you have the Clips in last place, of course, because James Harden is terrible. The one win that they got was the game before James Harden got traded to them. And then they are now 1-2 in last place in West Group B. Moving on finally to West Group C. As you can see, my pick, the Golden State Warriors, are in third place in this group. They are 1-1, but coming in first place right now are the Sacramento Kings. They're 2-0, ready to roll. But also behind them is the Ant-Man-led Minnesota Timberwolves. They are 2-0 as well. Again, the point differential being the difference there. Like I said, Warriors, my pick, is third. OKC comes in with a 1-2 record at 4. And unfortunately, Wemby cannot pull it off. They are 0-3, and they are eliminated. So they are eliminated from this group. And that's everybody. That's the group. That's the standings right now that we have for each group and each team. My picks aren't doing so well. Only 3 of my 6 picks are currently in first place. But one of them, the Nuggets, are in second place with the same record. I think they're still going to pull it out. But yeah, looking like I'm going to be 50-50 on my picks, but hopefully some of them can have a second half push and get to the top. Now, let's go ahead and let's move on to the ever so important Hopes Hotel. The Hopes Hotel is where I rank teams based on their title hopes and put them in the hotel where I see fit. Everything from the parking lot, no hopes, to the penthouse, high hopes. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's show the empty parking lot. Boom, there it is. And let's go ahead and reveal our teams in the parking lot, our no hope teams, and boom. Okay, we have the Pistons still with their cigarette, the bottle of wine, the Washington Wizards, the Chicago Bulls, the Utah Jazz, the Portland Trailblazers, the Charlotte Hornets, the Toronto Raptors, the Memphis Grizzlies, and a new addition to the parking lot is the Spurs. Look, I had the Spurs in a lobby team for the first 3 weeks, but it has gotten to the point where they're just not good. They're last placed in the West, and I love Wemby, and I was hoping Wemby could maybe make this team, a little bit better, which he has, certainly. He's fantastic. He's spectacle. If you've not watched Wemby play a game, go watch Wemby play a game, because he is that freakish, and he's an alien, and he is so good for a rookie, and he has a great competitive nature. But the team stinks. The team has lost too many games. They've lost games against bad teams, and for that, I find them in the parking lot. The rest of the teams speak for themselves. They haven't moved. They all deserve a parking lot spot. Not much more to be said there. But there's a lot more to be said about the hotel itself. Let's go ahead and reveal the lobby teams for the Hopes Hotel. Boom. These are the teams. They are talking to the front desk, trying to get a room desperately. Those teams are the Warriors, the Rockets, the Nets, the Knicks, the Pelicans, the Cavaliers, the Clippers, the Magic, and the Hawks. The three new teams in the lobby are the Warriors, the Nets, and the Hawks. Now you might be asking, why the Warriors? They've fallen from a suite all the way down to the lobby. Well, they've lost 6 straight games, and they've lost 7 of their last 8 games. Curry is Curry. He's playing amazing, averaging over 30, shooting at an efficient rate. But there's no one else. There's no one even close to being as good as him. Klay Thompson in this season is having one of the worst seasons of his career. He's averaging 14 points only, 3 rebounds, and only 2 assists, and he's only shooting 40% from the floor, not 40% from 3 like Klay is used to doing. He's shooting 40% from the whole floor. So he's having a terrible shooting season, and like I said, only averaging 14, 3, and 2 as your best player, your second best player behind Curry. Not going to do it. All right, so next we have the Nets, who are a new team in the lobby. They've just been playing solid ball. They were in a parking lot last week. I feel like they deserve to be up in the actual hotel in the lobby. They, Cam Thomas is only going to be out for another 2 weeks, so they'll have him back. He's a prolific scorer for that team. Mikal Bridges is obviously a baller. He does what he needs to do. So for that, I've given them a lobby spot. And then, of course, the Hawks, they've slipped. They were in a standard room last week, but they find themselves now in the lobby. They've lost 4 of their last 6 games. They're fine on offense. They're like 5th ranked in offense, but for defense, they're 24th in points per game allowed. So those are our lobby teams. A lot of exciting stuff, new additions. Let's go ahead and reveal the standard rooms. And, oh, there we go, standard rooms. We have the Pacers, the Thunder, the Suns, the Kings, and the Miami Heat. This is a great slate of standard room teams. The Pacers still doing what they do. I said it last week. Tyrese Halliburton is on an absolute tear. They deserve that spot. The Thunder keeping that spot. Chet Holmgren has been incredible. He is really vying for that Rookie of the Year spot against Wemby. He had 38 points, which for a rookie is kind of crazy, in a game the other night, and he's just playing good basketball along with SGA and the rest of that team, Giddey, and everybody who plays just, again, solid basketball. They've also been playing for a little while together. That chemistry is strong. And then I have the Suns still there. Look, I don't trust the Suns. Beal is now out with a back injury for 3 weeks, but they have so much star power, and star power that has won championships or been in the finals. So it's a team that's really hard to count out of a standard room. Yes, they have a lot of injuries, but if that all comes together, you're not going to want to play those guys in the playoffs. So for that, they keep a standard room for now. And then we also have the Sacramento Kings. The Kings have been doing great. They've come up from a lobby team. And then also the Heat. Look, the Heat are on a roll. After starting 1-4 for a record this season, they have rifled off 7 wins in 8 games. I think they rifled off 7 straight wins, and then they lost their most recent one. And, Bam is a huge part of that. Bam has looked incredible. He's averaging 23 points per game and 10.5 rebounds per game. Again, really solid stuff. And they're always in it. They're always a threat. I put them in the suites to start this thing. They've gone down to a standard room, but just because they had that 1-4 start. But this Heat team is very lethal, especially come playoff time. Let's go ahead to the next level of the Hopes Hotel, and let's reveal the suites. Bam! There they are. Those are the suites. We have the 76ers, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Los Angeles Lakers. The only new team to the suites up here are the Lakers, and it's just because the Lakers have LeBron. LeBron is old, but he looks incredible, and especially throughout this in-season tournament play, he looks amazing. He looks like vintage LeBron form, and if they can get AD healthy and put together a playoff push late in the season with Bron playing the vintage Bron way that he is, honestly, do you want to face them in the playoffs? No, your team probably does not. Okay, LeBron James can always go off for historic performance. AD does have the capabilities and the talent to do what he needs to do. So do you really want to face this team? I mean, do you in the playoffs? Like, would you be happy seeing LeBron James and AD in the playoffs? My answer is no. Let's go ahead and reveal the penthouse suites for the next thing. Let's go ahead. Boom, and no surprises, right? We have the Boston Celtics and the Denver Nuggets. They've been atop the Hopes Hotel in the penthouse for the entire season. So no change at the top of the penthouse. Obviously, the Celtics and the Nuggets still reigning supreme. So let's go ahead and let's move on. Let's bring in my degenerate gambling brother, Timmy KGB, aka Timmy T-Bone Steak, extra raw. You already know what the segment is. It's Major Wager. What's up, Timmy? You there?
Hey, bud, what's up?
How you doing, dude? How's it been?
I'm pretty good, bud. Can't complain. Good week for Boston sports, right? Perfect weeks out of the Bruins and Celtics, including a pretty awesome Sixers undermanned win this week. I'm sure you talked about it earlier in the pod, but we were both psyched. We texted about 1,000 times during that one, so it's pretty good. And no Pats this week, which means I didn't have to sit there and watch Mac Jones throw atrocious interceptions in the fourth quarter. So all in all, pretty good Boston sports week. Feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say this year, whenever there's not a Pats game, I'm actually pretty happy
Yeah,
because I don't have to sit there and just try to rip my Tom Brady jersey off of my chest while I'm watching them.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's so bad. Terrible. Sweet. Well, let's get into Major Wager. For those of you who do not know, Major Wager is the best betting podcast segment in the world. Tim and I go head to head every single week on a bet. It has to be one single bet, but it can be a parlay, it can be a straight bet, whatever it is, but it has to be one single bet for the coming week of NBA basketball. And then we come back here, we discuss it. We either lose money, we make money. And at the end of the year, whoever has the most amount of money has to buy the Celtics jersey of their choosing. So let's cover what we did last week. Neither of us hit our bets. We both bet on the same game. It was the Celtics-Knicks game, which neither of us like to bet on the Celtics or in any Celtics games. My bet missed by one. I only had a 2-leg parlay, but I had Jason Tatum over 26.5. He, of course, went over. He scored 35 points. He had a great game. And then I also stupidly chose the Knicks money line to win that game, and the Knicks lost by 10. I think it was 117 to 107. So I missed out on my parlay. Tim, what'd you have again?
Yeah, I had the game right. I mean, I had the Celtics winning. I think I had them on the money line. And then I had, Drew Holiday and Derek White both over 1.5 threes. So both of them to have 2 threes. Drew, I think, had 3, and man, Derek just had 1. He fell short. I mean, he was in a slump earlier this week. He kind of broke out of it in that last game of the week. But 1-3 away, but that's why we do this, Lukey. The people don't want to see us win. They want to see us lose. It makes us more relatable, I think. So that's why I chose an intentionally losing bet. I just want to make sure everyone's clear on that.
Well, the tragedy is a little bit more grabbing than the hero story. So we're definitely living in a tragedy right now. I thought that Derek White was going to hit that second 3. He hit a 3 late. And D White, if he gets hot, he's hot. And so I thought for sure you were going to close that parlay on that final Derek White 3, but he didn't even shoot another one after that make.
It's always the leg you think is like the sure thing.
You bet 150 on that parlay. I bet 100. We each bet 200 in our initial futures bet in the first week of Major Wager. So right now, as it stands, I currently have $700 left of my 1,000, and you are sitting at a cool 650. So we're still in pretty good shape, north of 500.
Just getting started, baby. We're just getting started.
Speaking of getting started, let's get this week started. I'm super curious to hear what you have for a bet for this week's Major Wager. Give it to me, Timmy. Timmy KGB, aka T-Bone Steak, extra rare. What do you got?
All right. Well, after a loss last week, after not cashing in on that little same game parlay, I probably should have taken it easy, gone for a straight bet, something like that. But maybe it's because the Tyrese Maxey money is just sitting there and looking pretty, and I'm kind of counting that in my store here.
Yeah.
I went for another parlay this week. All right. And we haven't discussed this prior to the pod, and I hope this is okay. I hope this is allowed within the rules of Major Wager. We haven't discussed this, but I think that people should hear. It's a little cross sport parlay.
Okay. I will allow it.
I'm calling it not that we were supposed to title these, but it's Midwestern Madness. Okay. Okay. So this week I'm taking 2 money lines. All right. It's just a simple money line parlay. I'm taking the Minnesota Timberwolves over the New York Knicks tomorrow night, Monday night, tonight when this is showing, and the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead over the Birds, baby.
Whoa.
So, all right, let me talk a little bit about this. Let's start with the Wolves. Okay. Let's start with basketball. I'm looking at this game. The line sits at a bewildering -3 at home. I don't know why it's so low. They're playing the Knicks. The Knicks are fine, but to me, this line should be way higher. Like if I
Yeah, I
would
was
have
gonna say
predicted
that's
this,
crazy low for that line.
yeah, it feels like the bookmakers still aren't respecting this Timberwolves team, who are third in net rating behind only the Celtics and Sixers. They've been phenomenal.
Hmm.
They're 9-3 with wins against some of the best teams in the league. They're on a 7-game win streak. They're second in defensive rating. Like
Yep.
this team is real and they're spectacular.
No, that's a great bet. I love that bet. I'm super high on the Timberwolves, as Hope's Hotel will reveal, but I'm so high on them. I'm so high on Ant-Man. I think he's a future MVP candidate. And yeah, I was going to say the second defensive rating is Minnesota was first in defensive rating for most of this year, and now they're second, but still they're top notch defensively. I love that pick. That's a great pick.
And if I was smart, I would stop there and just have bet the Timberwolves at like -3 and gone, all right, let's go. But I'm not smart. And,
No, you aren't.
so I don't know. Like, I just saw this Monday Night Football game. Of course, we've been looking forward to it. Anyone who likes the NFL, like, this is the Super Bowl rematch. These are like two of the best teams in the league. And I was like, I have to bet. I'm obviously going to bet on it like a million different ways in real life, but I was like, I want to do it on the show. And so the line sits right now at Chiefs -2.5. I think it's gone down from -3.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So why do I like the Chiefs here? I don't know. Andy Reid is awesome against the Eagles, right? He's 5-0 against the Eagles. Both teams have been really good against the spread this year. And sort of the Chiefs last year were sort of known as a team who couldn't cover spreads, and that's not been true this year necessarily. There's no Dallas Goedert, which I think is really important. So,
Huge.
I mean, but I think the biggest thing for me is like, this is a bounce back game for Kelsey, who sucked in Germany, because he didn't have Tay there rooting for him in Deutschland. She's going to be here with Kelsey's mom. I just feels like the NFL script writers want this to be a Chiefs win, and just the Wolves to win and the Chiefs to win.
Love it.
Just those two. It's +180, and I'm just going to put 100 on it. So for 280 there, that's my bet.
100 for 280. I like that. And I like the Chiefs pick too. I like the cross sport pollination. We'll see how that goes.
I just wanted to introduce a little exoticism here. And
no, I love it. And that's going to be an interesting game, especially given the Chiefs defense. The Chiefs defense is the best defense in the league easily.
Oh, they're awesome.
Yeah. And they've been the most consistent all year. I love it, dude. That's awesome. So 100 to pay 280, right?
Yeah, it's almost certainly going to lose.
No. Well, there you go. Now that
I like it. We'll see.
All right, cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and lay my bet now. I'm going to lock that in. My bet is just a straight bet. I'm doing a straight bet, simple bet for Monday night. I am going to pick the Houston Rockets over the Golden State Warriors money line. Just the money line, not the spread. I don't like the spread. The spread's 7.5 right now, and I don't think they're going to blow them out and beat them by that much. But the Warriors are reeling. Klay Thompson only averages 14 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists per game. I mean, he's really been mid all season, and he's shooting 40% from the field, 36 from 3, but 40% overall from the field. So he's been in a bit of a rut. Curry just got back from an injury, and he's Steph Curry, still averaging over 30. But this is a tough bet, and it's a little bit of a push. It's at +230 because the Houston Rockets are playing Sunday night tonight, and they will be playing a back-to-back against the Warriors, who have lost 6 of their last 7. Victor Oladipo is going to be out in this game, but I mean, I like it. So I'm going to put 150 down for +230, which pays back 495. So I'm kind of going a little bit big. That extra 50 really balloons it. But I'm believing in these Houston Rockets. I think Ime Udoka is, obviously, we know as Celtics fans, a great coach. And I love Şengün. I love Jalen Green. I think that this team plays really well with each other. They're young, so a back-to-back might not actually affect them that much. There are a lot of young talent. There's not a ton of veterans on the team. And like I said, the Warriors are really reeling.
Great. I think it's a great pick. The Rockets are really good. They've won a ton of games. And they're really high. Like I just listened to this other pod, but I think they're like 4th in net rating right now. They're really high in net rating. And they're really good. And you said it. I think it's a lot of it is coaching. Like, Ime's a good coach, whatever else. But Şengün, he's so good.
He's so good.
He's really good. And
he's
been a big part of it. I think it's a fun team, young team, fast. They just score a lot. They're really good. the Warriors are without Draymond, right? I
Hmm.
mean, he tried to murder Rudy Gobert,
Yeah, I was gonna say
and
tried to drag
got
him back
slapped
into
with
his
a
dungeon.
massive 5-game suspension or whatever. Come on.
Yeah,
Okay.
as much as I love the Warriors and as much as I don't like Jordan Poole, they are having a hard time finding scoring outside of Curry, especially given Clay is not playing well at all. So
Right.
they really all of their young guys, like nobody is contributing anything else. And when Curry's out there, it's great. He's gonna give you 30. I bet in this game he'll score 40. But I think they're gonna lose because I think that without Draymond Green, the team does not have that cohesiveness. Steph is still coming off of the injury. And then again, Clay just is not himself. And usually the Warriors have a great supporting cast, but they just don't this year. They really don't have anybody that they can rely on when Steph's sitting on the bench. And I think they are limiting Steph's minutes too. So it's not like he's going to be out there playing 44 minutes to get a win against the Houston Rockets in the middle of November. It's not that important of a game. So I see this one going Houston's favor. And I think it's going to be a good one. That's why I'm not going to take the spread. I think it's going to be close, but I see them squeaking out a win.
Yeah.
All right, dude. I love the bets. I love what we got going. I love your bet. I love my straight bet. I'm not doing a parlay like you are, but I love the cross pollinating between the two sports and let the best man win.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get a win tonight.
Yeah,
But,
hopefully.
yeah.
All right, dude. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Peace. What can we say? Another great segment of Major Wager. Cannot wait to see who wins those bets and if somebody finally wins some money in this game. So before I sign off, I'm going to go ahead and give the forecast for games to watch moving up in the week, and then of course the slate of games that the Celtics have this week. Games that I thought were interesting in the NBA. On Tuesday, Cleveland goes to the Sixers. I think that's going to be a good one. That's an in-season tournament game. That's at 7:30 on Tuesday. And then also on Tuesday, Indiana at ATL for an in-season tournament game. I, of course, picked Atlanta in this group to win. Pacers are on fire, but ATL could really steal back momentum if they win that game. That game's at 7:30. And then on Wednesday, Dallas at the Lakers, which I just think that's going to be a ton of star-studded. I mean, that's in LA, in the Staples Center. Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, back playing against LeBron James. It's going to be fun. And then also on Wednesday, Philly at Minnesota. I think that's going to be a chippy game. You got Joel Embiid, who hates, getting bumped around, and then you have Ant-Man just doing what he does, and then the Twin Towers in the middle. I think that's going to be a chippy game. That's at 8 o'clock on Wednesday. And then finally, Denver at Houston. Is Houston the real deal? That's on Friday. That's an in-season tournament game. Is Houston the real deal? Can they compete with the Denver Nuggets? It's going to be interesting to see how Ime Udoka coaches against them. And obviously, Sengun against Jokic is going to be a fantastic matchup. And then finally, the Celtics for this week. Tonight, the Celtics play the Charlotte Hornets at 7 on Wednesday. The biggest game maybe of the year so far. Milwaukee comes to Boston. That's going to be a 5-star game. That's at 7:30. Drew Holiday against his former team. Let's see how the new assets stack up against each other. And then Friday, back to the in-season tournament, the Celtics go, where the Celtics go to Orlando. That's at 2:30 because it's the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday. So it's a 2:30 game, afternoon game. A little interesting. And then finally, on Sunday, the Atlanta Hawks go to Boston for a 6 p.m. game. We get to see Trae Young. So those are the games. And I look forward to discussing all of that next week in next week's episode of The Dribble. But for now, I got nothing else to talk about. Thank you for listening. This has been The Dribble.